Craftsman Days are here at Lowe's with big savings on the tools you need. Right now, get a free select tool when you buy the Craftsman V20 2-pack battery kit. Whether it's the backyard, the bathroom, or beyond, Craftsman has the tools to help you power through and get the project done right. Because DIYing is unpredictable, but your tools shouldn't be. Shop Craftsman at Lowe's today. Valid through 6/18 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
Walters would like to wish all moms out there a happy Mother's Day. Come join Walters for a Mother's Day brunch from 11 to 3. Mention the Nats Chat podcast and get a free Bloody Mary or mimosa on Walters. Don't forget to make your reservation for the Philly series this week. Walters is open weekdays from noon till midnight. Let's go Nats.
Max holding the hands in position behind his head. Now that he brings him down as he nods his head to the side. The wind and the 3-2 pitch. Swing and a miss. He struck him out. 95 to the outside. 14 strikeouts in 7 innings for Max Scherzer.
The kick and the pitch. Swing and a line drive to right. Going to be a base hit. It's going to tie the game. With Hand pitching behind, he gives up the single to right. Rainey to the belt. Bases loaded, nobody out. The pitch. Swinging a ground ball, slowly hit up the third base line, and Rainey can't pick it up. He would have had to make a do-or-die play to the plate, and he dropped the ball. The game is over. And the Yankees have a walk-off win in the 11th inning on a slow bouncer up the third base line, scoring LeMahieu.
And welcome to Nats Chat for Sunday, May 9th, 2021, Mother's Day 2021. A happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Mark Zuckerman, Nationals insider for MASNsports.com, is off. I'm Al Galdi, host of the Al Galdi podcast. Thrilled to be joined again by the mastermind of the Nats Chat podcast, Tim Shovers. And Tim, I tell you what, you talk about like picking the perfect spot. Tim has identified an outstanding game to join us here on the air for Nats Chat. What a ball game on Saturday for the Nationals. Bad result, but a whole lot to get into. How you doing, Tim?
Doing well. Really enjoyed the Yankees telling us we'd have an update at 2 o'clock on the rain delay, not hearing till 2:30, and then obviously 2.5-hour rain delay, and then a 4-hour game, and a bullpen meltdown late. So, yeah, it was certainly quite a day to fill in for Mark.
That's the thing, man. You get the bonus of all the stuff to talk about, but you get the negative of the lengthy day that it was for everyone at Yankee Stadium. Yeah, so much for a 105 first pitch. You know, most people, if you're a Nats fan, you figure, all right, your day's done by what, 4:30? Nah, you end up going to like 7:30, essentially, with the rain delay, the lengthy nature of the game, etc. But a lot to chew on. Nationals blow a 2-1 ninth inning lead and then a 3-2 10th inning lead. Waste a gem from Max Scherzer. Total just 8 hits, 7 of which were singles. Strike out 14 times. Lots to chew on. Let's just dive headfirst into it. The bullpen. So off all of the praise we've been singing for the Nationals bullpen, and it's been justified praise, the bullpen really for the first time this season blows one. I mean, I know not every outing for the pen has been great, but this was the one where you say to yourself, the bullpen lost you this game, and there's really no ways around that. I mean, the offense could have been better for sure, but you were in position to win this game not once but twice, and the bullpen falters, and it happens to be your ace reliever who falters. Brad Hand gives up 2 runs, 1 earned over the 9th and 10th innings, and getting just 3 outs versus allowing 3 singles and a walk. His first blown save of the season. Now, I will say this in defense of Hand. It's not like he got hit all over the ballpark. You know, that 1-out bloop single by Aaron Judge into no man's land in right field in the 10th inning, despite the great diving effort by Ryan Zimmerman. 1-out ribby single by Gleyber Torres. Neither of those hits was impressive, nor in a lot of ways was the bottom of the 10th leadoff ribby single by Mike Ford. It wasn't a good outing for Hand, but there were some cheapies there. And then the walk-off hit was the cheapest of them all. That super soft walk-off infield single by Gleyber Torres off Tanner Rainey. You know, the saying is hit them where they ain't. The Yankees did that in those later innings.
It's the first time the bullpen faltered all season, and May 8th is a little bit longer than I would have guessed, back in March. So give credit where credit's due, at least from that standpoint. It's obviously a backhanded compliment if there ever was one. But, Al, you mentioned that they blew the lead twice, and Brad Hand was involved in both of those, the 9th inning and then the 10th inning. And to me, there's a lot of things to scratch your head on with the decisions in the late innings. But having Hand come back out for the 10th inning, to me, I didn't really understand that one. I'm not blaming him for the 9th. You got to get LeMahieu, Stanton, and Judge out. That's as hard as a 1-2-3 as you got to get out in all of Major League Baseball. But it clearly wasn't his day. So why he came out to start the 10th instead of just going to Finnegan or Voth or someone else did not make sense to me.
I think it's so funny that we're at a point where you can reasonably argue both should have been in the game in the 10th and not Brad Hand, but you can. Like, if you've been paying attention to the national season, that's a case you can make. So, personally, I did not have a problem with Hand coming out for that second inning, basically because, A, he is, in theory anyway, your best reliever, and B, he's barely been pitching. Like, he should be fresh. He should be up for the task of 2 innings. Now, to your point, it was not a great day for him. And if you want to say, well, he just doesn't have it today, get somebody else out there, I wouldn't have killed Davey for pulling him at that point. But like I said, it's not like he got shellacked in that 9th inning. You know, the walk was really the thing that bothered you, right? That leadoff 5-pitch walk that he issued to DJ LeMahieu. I can't kill Davey for throwing Hand out there. Hand's got to get the job done there. Like, he's not been overworked. You know, there have been stretches where I've been like, man, I mean, they don't go to Hand. If it's not a safe situation in the 9th inning, they're not going to Brad Hand this year. Like, we're just not seeing him. Here you had an opportunity to get some mileage out of Hand, and he just didn't come through. So I'm not that upset with Davey for that. It was disappointing, though, and he'd been so good. He had not allowed a run the whole year. And I know you could say, well, it's the gimmicky thing with the runner on second base, but everyone's got to deal with the same thing. This is really where you need relievers with swing and miss stuff, and Hand has that. We just didn't see enough of that on Saturday.
Yeah, and another thing to your point with Hand, Al, you talk about being okay to use Hand multiple innings because he's fresh. Another head scratcher then along those lines is why not pitch Hudson in the 9th when you had all those right-handers in LeMahieu, Stanton, and Judge due up? Hudson did not pitch on Friday, and Hudson had only pitched to 2 batters in the 8th, so you would think he could do a second inning as well.
You could have, and it wouldn't have. Again, I think that would have been a defendable way to go. I mean, again, Hand has not pitched. You set it up where a fresh Hudson pitches the 8th inning, gets the final 2 outs, and looks good, right? Struck out Kyle Higashioka on 3 pitches with a runner on first and 1 out. But Hand, like, that's his spot, and he needs to deliver, and he did not deliver. And really the first time this season you can say that about him. It's funny. Kyle Finnegan comes on, retires the 3 batters he faces in the bottom of the 10th inning. And then Tanner Rainey happens again, and Rainey looked really good in his previous outing. I know he allowed the first guy to get on base in that outing, but then after that, he was lights out. And then it was kind of back to the Tanner Rainey we've seen way too much of this year, where he issues himself a leadoff walk, a 6-pitch walk of Giancarlo Stanton, then a 4-pitch walk of Aaron Judge to load the bases. Then again, like I said, the super soft walk-off infield single by Gleyber Torres. So that's the thing with Rainey, I would say. Like, yeah, the walk-off hit was cheap, but Rainey issued back-to-back walks to begin things. So there's only so much forgiveness I think you can bestow upon Tanner Rainey.
Yeah, Rainey, it was very clear right away that Tanner Rainey also did not have it. And I know you could say, well, has he had it all year? But it was very clear he was off. And that it was another example of where the 3-batter minimum really comes to hurt you, because in a different circumstance, in a different year, Davey could have gone to his pen and he didn't even have anyone warming up, which I'm not blaming him on. But in a world where you could pull a guy after 1 or 2 hitters, you would think that someone else would have been warming up.
Yeah, you could be more aggressive, and you're not allowed to do that. For the record, I hate the 3-batter minimum. I think it's dumb. I think it's dopey. I think it limits strategy, and I think the idea that it drastically shortens the times of games is already been disproven. It doesn't, okay? Games take a long time because of the inaction between pitches. That's why games take so long, and to a lesser extent, the commercial breaks. It's not because relievers are being pulled out of games constantly. That doesn't help, but that's not the reason. I wish they would get rid of the 3-batter minimum, but yeah, disappointing. There's no doubt. And it's disappointing because Max Scherzer pitched out of his mind once again. Like, one of the things I know that was out there during the game was, well, maybe some of these relievers are having a hard time finding their footings because the mound was wet, because it did rain on and off during the game. The thing is, Max Scherzer didn't have no problem finding his footing. He was otherworldly. Once again, spectacular with Scherzer. And that's what's so painful, is that you end up, not only does Max not, get the win. I mean, I don't care about that stuff. I know some people do, but you don't get the win as a team. Like, you lose this game. And with Scherzer was lights out. 1 run, 7 1/3 innings, 14 strikeouts versus 2 hits, a homer and a single and a walk. He threw 69 of his 109 pitches for strikes. The 14 strikeouts, a single game record for an opposing pitcher at the new Yankee Stadium, which opened in 2009. And if you guys follow us on Twitter, @Nats_chat, the official Twitter account of the Nats Chat podcast, I mean, Tim, you were tweeting it out. It was amazing. I mean, 10 strikeouts through 4 innings for Scherzer. Like, he was piling up these strikeouts. For even him, it was impressive to see that.
Such a shame that it took us a few minutes to talk about Scherzer because we had to get to the bullpen. It should have been a day where, should have been the entire podcast. He was, I don't know if he was better than Sunday. I mean, we're arguing about his 2 A+ performances, because Sunday I was at the game against the Marlins, and it was just, seeing it in person, it was so funny to see how little chance that weak lineup had against him. But I think this was more impressive when you factor in just the Yankees have a much better lineup than Miami, and he was making mincemeat out of them. And he was still throwing 95, 96 late. I mean, Al, we talk about the contract all the time and how he exceeded it, but this is year 7 of that 7-year deal that we chuckled about a few years ago. And he is right there in the Cy Young race. I know there's a long way to go, but he is pitching as good as ever so far this year.
He really is. And that's the thing. It's not just that he's been great each year. It's that he's more often than not, with the exception, I guess you would say, of last year, been Cy Young great each year, which is an incredible standard to meet. And yet he keeps meeting it. I really think one of the underappreciated storylines and developments of this season has been that Max Scherzer is back to pitching at a Cy Young level. I think there was kind of an assumption that, all right, Scherzer since the second half of the 2019 season hasn't been Cy Young Max, and maybe that's just, he's just not that anymore. He's like a lesser version of Cy Young Max. He's B+ Max, that sort of a thing. No, he's back to being A+ Max. He is pitching the way we saw him pitch in, 2016, 2017, 2018, first half of 2019. Scherzer now on the season over 7 starts has an ERA at 2.33. He has a whip of 0.78. He has 61 strikeouts versus 7 walks. I mean, that's incredible when you think about that, what he's doing, the age he's in, like we just said, final season of that contract. It was interesting with this outing because he was pitching on 5 days of rest as opposed to 4. So Davey clearly felt comfortable pushing Max, but, didn't want to push him beyond the 109 pitches that Max ended up throwing. And the dominance was just jaw-dropping. And I'm with you. I think this was more impressive than the Marlins game because of the strikeouts. I mean, you look at what Max did against the Yankees 2 through 5 hitters, Giancarlo Stanton, Aaron Judge, Gleyber Torres, Brett Gardner. Max held those 4 guys to 0 for 12 with 10 strikeouts. I mean, that's one of the better parts of the order in baseball. Stanton, Judge, Torres, Gardner. Max held those 4 to 0 for 12 with 10 strikeouts.
I grew up with Randy Johnson and Roger Clemens, and right now, specifically, and this is kind of matching early 2019, he's looking like them, where you're just expecting him to whiff, not only strike out anyone, but the big names you just mentioned. How do you strike out those names 10 times in one game? That's jaw-dropping.
It really was. Max had 10 strikeouts over the first 4 innings. Max struck out 6 consecutive batters early in the game. Stanton and Judge, final 2 outs, bottom of the first. Torres, Gardner, and Clint Frazier for all 3 outs, bottom of the second. And then Mike Ford for the first out in the bottom of the third. We talked on the last installment of the Nats Chat podcast about, the thing to worry about or be concerned about with Max would be the early home run. Well, he got out of the first 2 innings unscathed, did give up the solo shot with 1 out in the bottom of the third to Kyle Higashioka on a 1-2 pitch, but that was it. Otherwise, he was excellent. Now, let me ask you this, because I have a pretty strong opinion on this, but I'm anxious to hear yours. Davey pulling Max, did you have any issue with that? Did you want to see Max go longer?
I agreed with it. I was actually a little surprised. I kind of go the other way, Al. I thought he was done after 7 innings, 99 pitches, and you have your top 2 guys in Hudson in hand, whatever order you want to use them in, by the way, because of the right-handed situation that I alluded to earlier. Maybe pitch hand in the 8th inning. But I would have ended it there because you then have that quick hook where then your reliever inherits trouble on the bases. So because Scherzer was well over 100, I agree with the decision there and had no problem with it.
Nor did I. And I think the confirmation that we're right is Max's reaction to getting pulled. We know Max will MF Davey if he doesn't want to come out of the game. He didn't do that. Max, if you read his body language, he kind of nodded and he was like, yeah, okay. Max was good with it. Max probably recognized he was at his limit. So I thought that was the right call. It worked out. I mean, Daniel Hudson was just fine. He wasn't the problem. Unfortunately, Brad Hand ended up being the problem. But no doubt, man, I mean, this podcast installment of it should have been all about Scherzer. And instead, he takes a backseat to what ended up being one of the first real bad games for the Nats bullpen this season. Hey everyone, Al Galdi here to tell you about FanDuel. So we've all had that dream, right? Tie game, bottom of the 9th, bases loaded. Well, on FanDuel Sportsbook, you get more than one shot to swing for the fences because FanDuel is letting you place your first bet risk-free. That's right, new users get up to $1,000 back in site credit if your first bet doesn't win, and it only gets better from there. Once you have an account, you'll have access to same-game parlay insurance all season long. That's up to $25 back in site credit each day if your same-game parlay bet falls one leg short. This way you can combine multiple baseball bets for an even bigger win. There's a reason that FanDuel Sportsbook is America's #1 sportsbook. The app is simple to use. They've got great odds on all different betting markets, unique fun bet types like same-game parlay and always-on promotions to let you get more action out of every game day. And when you win, FanDuel will pay you your winnings in as little as 24 hours. Huascar Ynoa, the National League East version of Shohei Ohtani against the Nationals, takes the mound Sunday night against Aaron Nola and the Phillies. Might be another good opportunity to consider the under. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code CHAT to get in on the action. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code CHAT.
21 plus and present in Colorado, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, or West Virginia. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site. Credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado. 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. 1-800-9-WITH in Indiana. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help in Michigan. 1-800-GAMBLER. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Virginia. Tennessee, 1-800-889-9789, or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net.
Are you interested in buying or selling your home? Support for Nats Chat comes from Rachel Levy of Compass Real Estate. By focusing on the personal parts of the real estate process and using technology to simplify the rest, Rachel seamlessly guides her clients through their experience. Rachel uses all her deep local knowledge and exceptional customer service to advocate for her clients across D.C., Maryland, and Virginia. To learn more, follow her on Instagram at RealEstateRachel.
The 2-2 on the way. Swinging a line drive right field. Judge moving back toward the line makes the catch. Stevenson will tag coming toward the plate. The throw in is offline and he scores. Line drive sac fly to right for Trey Turner, scoring Stevenson. And the Nationals lead in the 10th, 3-2.
All right, Nats offense. So overall, it wasn't good. We were kind of back to the way things have been way too often this season of not hitting for power, not getting enough guys on base, 1, 2, 3 innings, that sort of a thing. But I do want to give the Nats credit. Great job to get that run in the top of the 10th inning. And so much of the credit goes to Victor Robles, who had one of his better games this season, certainly offensively speaking. So Robles in the number 9 spot, 3 for 4 with 3 singles and a stolen base. First of all, he had a first pitch bunt single in the Nats 1-run third. He had a leadoff single in the top of the 7th. And then what happened in that 1-run 10th inning? Leadoff single off Aroldis Chapman on an 0-2 pitch that was a 101.6 mile per hour four-seam fastball. I mean, you think about that, right? A, it's Victor Robles, who's not had a great season hitting. B, he's facing Chapman, maybe the greatest flamethrower in baseball history. C, he's down 0-2 Robles is, and he's still able to get a hit in that spot. I couldn't get over that.
Yeah, Robles, this is probably his best game of the season. I don't even know if that's a debate at the plate. And Al, he's hitting 300 so far in May. He's 6 for 20. And obviously the bulk of that came this afternoon. But I really like what I'm seeing out of Robles so far this month. We've gotten past sort of those April inexcusable base running mistakes. And if Robles can I'm not looking for Robles to hit 300, right, for the full season. If Robles can get that average into the 270s and kind of flirt with 280 later this summer, that is such an asset. You've crystallized it so well. I mean, if you can have a guy with any sort of bat who gives you that sort of glove in center field, it's gold, right? It's worth your weight in gold. And so if we get performances like this today out of Robles, that is so crucial to this team.
Yeah, and he has done a good job getting on base this season. He's walked more than I think people thought he would. I think the biggest thing for Robles as a batter has been the slugging. He's just not hitting for any power whatsoever. So, that certainly has to improve. But that piece of hitting against Chapman in that top of the 10th inning, that was some piece of work. I mean, Chapman is super intimidating. I mean, to say nothing of, you're in Yankee Stadium. It's not an easy place to do well in, and Robles came through there. Also had a stolen base in that inning, which was good. Now, do have to say this, the one official at-bat in which Robles did not deliver was another one of these Robles plate appearances in which he struggled. Struck out looking on 4 pitches with runners on first and second, 2 outs, and the top of the 4th. So that was disappointing, but Robles did a great job in the 10th. And then to score Robles was that Trey Turner ribby sac fly, and that was a good piece of hitting off of Aroldis Chapman. Trey Turner was down at 1.02 against Chapman, but was able to make contact, put bat on ball, and on a 101.4 mile per hour four-seam fastball from Chapman, Turner is able to get an RBI sac fly. Nationals get that run. So I give the Nats credit. They did get that run. Unfortunately, were not able to hold off. Another thing that I thought was interesting with the Nationals offensively was the Yankee strategy that was employed in the later innings. In fact, in that 10th inning, and it ended up working out just fine. But here you had Aroldis Chapman, who's a lefty, Juan Soto's coming up. He's a lefty. The Yankees opt to intentionally walk Juan Soto with 2 outs to bring up Ryan Zimmerman, who historically scorches left-handed pitching. Zimmerman was like laughing at this, because Zimmerman understood the message that was being sent. And it did pay off. Ryan Zimmerman ended up striking out swinging on 5 pitches against Chapman for the 3rd out with runners on 1st and 2nd. What did you think about that strategy in the moment, though, from Aaron Boone?
I agreed with it from Boone. I would rather take my chances, regardless of what handed pitcher is on the mound, and not have to face Soto. And if I'm a Nats fan, I would get accustomed to this moving forward. I think if there's ever going to be a base open in the extra innings or in the 9th inning, get used to Juan Soto having a free pass to first base.
Yeah, I think it was the right call. It obviously worked out. I mean, as well as Ryan Zimmerman has done this season, he's still, he's Ryan Zimmerman. He's an older player. He did not have a particularly good game on Saturday. He wasn't awful, but it wasn't some lights out performance. And Soto is Soto. I mean, it really speaks to the respect that Juan Soto demands, and he does, that they go ahead and do this lefty versus lefty. I mean, because, you could always make the case of, yeah, Soto's great, but so is Chapman. I mean, Aroldis Chapman might be the best reliever on the planet. He's discovered this new pitch that has made him even more lethal. Like, you might say, just let Chapman go ahead and do his thing. I mean, for what it's worth, Soto isn't as good against lefties as he has been against righties, but, he's still plenty good. He still Juan Soto. Yankees employ that strategy, and it does end up working out. In terms of the Nats' other run, so Soto had the bases loaded walk to plate that Nationals run in the top of the 3rd, and Starlin Castro had a tie-breaking 2-out ribby single for a 2-1 Nats lead in the top of the 6th inning. Many years ago, Buddy Ryan had the saying on Chris Carter of all he does is catch touchdowns. Starlin Castro this season, all he does is hit singles. He's not hitting for any power whatsoever. But I give the guy credit. He is racking up the singles. He's racking up the runs batted in, at least, relatively speaking from a Nats standpoint. And he did come out there with that ribby single. It put the Nats up 2-1. It looked for a while that would prove to be the game-winning hit.
Yeah, it was Castro's first RBI since April. So he has not hit for power, as you just mentioned right there. By the way, I thought it was Chris Berman who said that. I didn't realize Buddy Ryan came up with that.
Berman used to say it mocking when Buddy Ryan said it, because Buddy Ryan was the head coach of the Eagles when Chris Carter was there. But yeah, Berman used to use that all the time on NFL primetime.
Real quickly, I want to circle back to that thing you mentioned with the bases loaded walk to Soto, which piggybacks to what I was saying. Nats fans get used to that. Kluber on the 3-1 pitch threw it low and away. It seemed like he was more than fine in walking Soto and walking in a run and taking his chances against Zimmerman. Did not want to pitch against Soto with 2 outs, bases loaded, fast runner on first because a double in the gap. Harrison scores, and now you're down 3-0. So that again is another example of Juan Soto getting Barry Bonds treatment throughout the game from the Yankees.
No doubt. And you've said it, and Mark said it, and this is the way it's going to be. And the onus is on those around Soto in that lineup to come through. And that's going to be one of the keys to the national season. Does this lineup deliver? Well, do those around Soto come through, especially when Soto is pitched around? And unfortunately for Zimmerman in that spot in the 10th inning, it did not happen. Kyle Schwarber, too, I want to highlight him. He had a double in the game, 2-out double. And that Nationals 1-run 6th inning. That was the lone extra base hit in the game for the Nationals. And Alex Avila, as a starting catcher, did have a single and a walk in the game. Had a 1-out full count single in the Nats 1-run 3rd, 2-out full count walk in the top of the 4th. Nationals continue to get sneaky good production, offensively speaking, out of the catchers. But it was a really bad game for the Nationals' 2 Joshes. Josh Harrison went 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. I don't want to kill Josh Harrison. He's had a very good season so far. But Josh Bell, Tim, I mean, here we are again. It's 1 step forward, 5 steps back, it feels like, with Josh Bell. He hits the home run on Friday night, and then on Saturday, 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. And this cannot be one of these games where people like me talk about the StatCast data with Josh Bell and say, well, he hit the ball hard. He went 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts. That was a brutal performance by Josh Bell.
Al, I know the draft is over from the NFL last week, but Josh Bell's on the clock. It's been a month or so since he's been back, and he looks so lost still. And today wasn't even surprising that he had 4 strikeouts and was 0 for 5. And I don't know if that means a week or 2 weeks or when the calendar flips to June, but there's only so long that this can continue. And I know they paid him $6.5 million for 1 year, but it's not a 7-year deal. It's not a 3-year deal. It's a 1-year deal. And I'm not sure what the options are, but there's only so long this can happen, especially when you're trying to stay in the hunt in a very crowded division.
They don't have many other options, which has been one of the real problems. This Nationals roster has not been well put together. And one of the real questions that needs to be answered is that because Mike Rizzo just made bad decisions? Or is that because Mike Rizzo was not allowed to make the decisions he truly wanted to make? But for now, I think one of the most telling things has been the frequency with which guys like Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber and some others have been out there this year, because there just aren't many other viable options. I mean, you could say play Ryan Zimmerman more, and I'm not against that, but I think they're only going to ever play Ryan Zimmerman so much because of his age and his injury history, and they're trying to do, the Howie Kendrick thing with Ryan Zimmerman this year. But, this weekend, obviously, you have a DH. Like, one of the blessings of this weekend was supposed to be you have the DH, Juan Soto's back. Saturday we see him back out there as the starting right fielder. So, okay, you can play both Bell and Zimmerman, but Bell has become an albatross here. And for all of the little, flashes of, hey, he did this and, oh, he did that, it's like it doesn't seem to lead anything. It just seemed to be these isolated moments of success. And, I think it's not unreasonable to say, well, it's not going to keep going this poorly, and it shouldn't, but it does continue to go poorly, and every game is more and more of a struggle in terms of like, okay, well, he struggled again. He went 0 for 5 again. And at least like I said, if he's hitting balls hard, putting balls in play, you can maybe kind of explain that. 0 for 5 with 4 strikeouts is hard to explain away, especially in a series like this where you need power, you need your big guns to come through. Like I said, he hit the home run on Friday night, but that was a real step back kind of game for him on Saturday. Disappointing to see that from Josh Bell.
Hey, Nats Chat listeners, Tim Shover's here to tell you about Sunday Scaries CBD Gummies. Sunday Scaries are specially formulated CBD gummies with vitamins D3 and B12 that taste absolutely delicious and are easy to take on the go. Sunday Scaries CBD gummies help you live life scare-free by promoting a sense of calm, quieting your mind, and just helping you to chill out and relax. They sent me a care package a few weeks ago, and let me tell you who they are targeting. Young professionals, entrepreneurs, college students, moms, and yogis. If you fit into one of those categories, I highly recommend checking out Sunday Scaries CBD Gummies. Today you can get 25% off your first order with the code NATSCHAT at sundayscaries.com. That's 25% off your first order at sundayscaries.com. Enter code NATSCHAT where it asks for a coupon on the checkout page. Ready to chill out and get some much-needed peace of mind? Head to sundayscaries.com right now to get 25% off some sweet, sweet CBD gummies.
Support for Nats Chat comes from Manscaped, which has the best men's grooming tools to get the job done. Fellas, listen up. Manscaped is here to ensure your post-quarantine body is ready for whatever the world throws at it. Manscaped is trusted by over 2 million men worldwide. Join the movement for all of your below-the-waist grooming needs. Manscaped is dedicated to helping you level up your full-body grooming game. Manscaped has forever changed the grooming game with the Perfect Package 3.0. For a limited time, subscribers get 2 free gifts: the Shed Travel Bag, a $39 value, and the patented high-performance reduced chafing Manscaped Boxers. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the promo code NATSCHAT at manscaped.com. Do yourself a favor and always use the right tools for the job. That's 20% off and free shipping with the promo code NATSCHAT at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com. And don't forget to use the promo code NATSCHAT. All right, so the Nationals looked like for a while they would maybe be in position to sweep the Yankees, which would have been something else considering the way this season has gone. Unfortunately, it's a rubber game for the Nationals on Sunday. It will be a Joe Ross game against Domingo Germán, 105 first pitch at Yankee Stadium. Look, we saw Patrick Corbin be okay on Friday night. We saw Max Scherzer be outstanding on Saturday. What do you think we see from Ross on Sunday?
I think the goal is 5 or 6, just a decent start. It could be similar stat line to what we saw from Corbin on Friday night. Ross has obviously a tough job ahead of him facing this lineup, and he's got the righty-on-righty edge against the top guys in New York's lineup. But we mentioned how Austin Voth hasn't pitched this weekend. This could be one of those tandem things, Al, where we've talked about with Voth that he could do with Fedde or Ross, where if you get 5 or so from one of these guys, then you could do Voth for 2 innings, which helps you out in the back end because I know Hudson, Hand, and Rainey all pitched on Saturday.
Yeah, so the Nationals seem to never want to do things like certainly openers or tandem starts or bullpen games or anything like that. They certainly never like talking about those things, even though Davey in spring training did say he was open to the opener for this season. So I don't know if they would ever actually come out and say they're doing a tandem start, but to your point, you can do that with Austin Voth, especially with the way he's pitching. Now, if Joe Ross pitches as we have seen him pitch at times this season, you're not going to need to do that. Like, Joe Ross is more than capable of going 6 innings on Sunday and giving up, 2 runs or less. I don't know how likely that is, but he's had a good season overall. I mean, he's been good in 4 of his 5 starts. The one start in which he wasn't good was that third start that he made. 10 runs, all earned, 4 in the third innings, 12-5 loss to St. Louis at Nats Park on April 19th. But with the exception of that game, he really has not been that bad at all. His most recent outing, 6-1 loss to Atlanta on Tuesday night at Nats Park, 2 runs, 5 in the third inning. So, I'm not saying he's a Cy Young candidate, but certainly has been better than I think most people would have thought, especially given that he didn't pitch at all last year. If he can do well on Sunday, which he's more than capable of doing, I think it's a nice confidence boost for him. It makes you feel better about kind of where he's at, that he can handle a lineup like this in a venue like that. And, it would be really nice to see the Nats get that win. They had one stolen from them, the Nats did on Saturday. There's no two ways about it. That's a win that became a loss. And because the bullpen's been so good, you haven't had to deal with games like that too often so far this year. But this was the first one. That's one of those gut punch games, especially, again, with Max as brilliant as he was. To lose that game, yes, you hate to see that. Nats starting pitching has not been great so far this year. We know that. So when you get a great outing like that, you want to win. And the Nats obviously did not.
Co-sign on everything you just said. This is a big one because to lose this series going an off day would hurt because they got a big 3-game series coming up in the middle of the week against Philadelphia, who's in first place right now.
Yeah, the schedule coming up, 3 home games against the Phillies Tuesday through Thursday. Then you got some roadies after that, 3 games at the Arizona Diamondbacks next weekend, followed by 4 games at the Chicago Cubs. You tell us what you think. You can hit us up on Twitter at Nats_chat. You can email the Nats Chat Podcast, natschatpodcast@gmail.com. Before we call it a show, I know you had something you wanted to make mention of regarding the Navy Yard neighborhood.
Yeah, Al, I've been to a handful of games so far this year and certainly been down in Navy Yard a lot over time. For those that haven't been to Navy Yard yet this season, there are so many new apartment buildings down there. And I'm not talking about just 3-story buildings. We're talking about 10-story, 14-story buildings on top of each other everywhere. Al, you know how so many cities want to create that neighborhood atmosphere in the ballpark? Well, Nats Park did that. There are thousands upon thousands of people that are living by the stadium right now, and the dynamic has completely changed, and I'm very much looking forward to what it's like later on in the year when hopefully we have full attendance as things change.
So it's always so tricky with new stadiums because there's always the thing that is said that new stadiums revitalize neighborhoods. And the truth is sometimes that's the case, but sometimes it isn't. It's very hit and miss. Like we've had a classic hit with Capital One Arena in downtown Chinatown. The jury had been out, though, on Nationals Park, especially because Nats Park goes up the first season, right, 2008, which is the start, essentially, of the Great Recession. So it's like you could not have gone up at like a worse time. Especially also, too, because the team wasn't very good at the time either. So you were kind of like, all right, if this is going to work, it's probably going to take a lot longer than people ever thought. But to your point, it does seem to be working. Like I don't pretend to know DC economics like, some master here, but it does seem to be doing that in terms of revitalizing that portion of the city, leading to the building of great things. You have bars, you have a place like Walters, which we love. You have the housing, the condos, the apartments that you just referenced. I used to do radio shows from down by Nats Park, and this was like, 5-6 years ago. It was not that impressive, okay? It wasn't. And I think things have changed drastically in just that period of time. It's great to see that. I think DC deserved that. Certainly a lot of money was spent on Nationals Park, and it's cool that things are emerging.
You want to have a ballpark in a city where people can walk to the stadium? You got thousands upon thousands of people that live within 2 or 3 blocks.
Good to see that. Good to have that. And hopefully we keep it going. All Nationals radio highlights on Nats Chat are courtesy of 106.7 The Fan. Keep the feedback coming to us at Nats_chat on Twitter, natschatpodcast@gmail.com, including if you would like to become a sponsor of the Nats Chat podcast. We hope our pal Mark Zuckerman has enjoyed his off day. He missed a marathon day at the ballpark. It's almost like he knew what was going to happen. And yet he was able to choose that off day strategically. Anyway, for Tim Shovers, I'm Al Galdi. We'll talk to you next time on the Nats Chat podcast.
Happy Mother's Day, Mom.